down there that knows the information so I can get the real truth out to you. Tonya always preaches truth and transparency. So we're going to get right into it tonight. She's in the hot seat to answer some of the questions that everybody's been wanting to know. So let's go ahead and get started. Thank you, Tonya, for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to ask that you don't scream tonight.
And that to me was just the most ridiculous thing, because you're supposed to be passionate about something if your community is not being served.
Absolutely.
If your representative is not working for you, making sure things are handled. These officers have been working 2 years without having the bonus. We signed that bonus approved it on March 14th. Mm-hmm. They should have had it.
Right.
They should have had it. So when I'm looking at how we can't attract and retain officers, that's part of the problem, because the word is out there. Don't go work for Flint. They're not even paying their new officers new hire bonuses.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, because we also have officers who are retiring. So I'm looking at the entire part or issue. Why aren't we hiring enough officers? We need...
Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to start back from the beginning. Thank you all for tuning in to the Wyntis Hall show. The sound was off, so we were having a couple technical difficulties. And like I said, I'm usually on Thursdays at 6 p.m., but tonight we're having a special broadcast. I have with me my special guest, Tonya Burns. We want to talk about Operation Arrowhead, hot topics. This is a hot topic show. She's in the hot seat. That's what we have on my show, in our hot seat. So she's going to answer some of the questions that we all want to know. She's going to get out the truth, and she's going to be transparent with it, because that's her motto, truth and transparency. This is where it came from, truth and transparency. You heard it here first. That was Tonya Burns. So thank you, Tonya, again for coming on to the show. We were talking about, right before they told us that we had, also I want to thank A10 Media Group. We were talking right before he told us to go back because of the sound issues, about the police not receiving their raise.
Right.
And I heard last night when you said, Mr. Whittigan, March is when we approved that.
Right.
The ball was dropped. We look at March, April, May, June. It looked like something would have went off in somebody's head, some little alarm to go and check. And then when I was reading today, because I like to prepare for what I'm going to ask my guests, that he said the clerk, remember he said the clerk dropped the ball. Well, Miss Inez Brown said
she did not.
That's what she said.
She stated emphatically that she did not. But even if she had, you're the CFO. It's your responsibility to make sure in your job description and duty to make sure that those officers were paid. You're waiting on the resolution. What do? You call, you email, you walk up, you mention it.
Absolutely.
So that was a lie. That was a lie. And to put the city clerk in that position was unethical and it's unprofessional, because they keep making mistakes and trying to blame the clerk. Like the meeting we weren't supposed to have, because they keep trying to circumvent and bypass the clerk.
That illegal meeting.
Illegal meeting. Mm-hmm. We've had postings that haven't been done. They didn't put the Joseph for the fire department correctly. So when you circumvent the actual record keeper of the city, you're going to have these problems.
Absolutely.
So to say she didn't do it, and he said it, so flip it.
Mr. Whittigan
is really arrogant.
And now yes, he is. He's arrogant. And if it would have been me or you, matter of fact, if it would have been Huey Newsom had done that on the previous council to Kate or Allen or any one of those people, he would have been gone. He would have been jobless that night.
Yeah.
And so when he got away with it the first time, when he flipped off Mr. Mays and he got a pass on that, now he's acting like, I can do what I want to do. And I don't know if he's been taught whatever. You know what? I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that the administration hasn't talked to him, because he acted like that again last night.
No, and that reflects on the administration. You have your CFO is a very important job. Mm-hmm. The CFO that we have is not CFO material. He's just not. When you're trying to, when you flip off the council, you flip off the residents of the city of Flint.
Right.
Because that said to the residents and they watch. I'm very close, and people call me my residents, and they were upset. He flipped off. He just walked off. That guy is so arrogant. And it's not about Black people. It's my colleague, Councilman Pfeiffer, called him the most arrogant person he's ever seen. He has stated that. So it has nothing to do with a Black or white. This is a people issue, and that he lacks professionalism. I get that him and Mays may get heated conversations, and I've been chairing before. Absolutely. And you try to to split that up. You can see if it's just going bantering back and forth. And I have texted Mr. Whittigan, and he has texted me, "Hey, will you go ahead and leave? Because you won't be needed." Because I want to make sure we're still moving things along. Absolutely. But you never. So I'm very fair to him. What he is not is fair, respectful to the residents. And that day, Mr. Mays was not yelling, hollering, or upset, or he wasn't. But the thing that they feel that if you there's a respectful tone all the ways. That administration doesn't respect anyone. No. And people are frustrated. Absolutely. So when you have done everything and they continue to not alter their behavior or their actions, then you get upset. Right. And you're supposed to. Right.
Well, enough about him. I want to talk about him. Let's get to what everybody is talking about. Operation Arrowhead. Yeah. 44 arrests. Yeah. 54 neighborhood checks. What are neighborhood checks? Do you know?
I'm not very clear. I know they do welfare checks. Okay. I don't know what they consider to be a welfare check. I did speak with Sergeant Dion Smith. I am going to do a ride along with him to actually see, because part of Arrowhead goes up into my ward, up into Bradley.
Now that's what I want to ask you too, because in my research, it's a 4.8 mile radius.
Correct.
It's not just downtown.
No. So those arrests were not all downtown, is what I was told.
Okay, so those 44 arrests from the previous weekend were not all from downtown. So let's jump to this weekend. I was at home having a great evening. I started getting a few inbox messages, and then I went on a local attorney's page and seen where she had posted, and so I'm like, wait a minute.
Attorney Heather Bernash had made a post.
She made a post about it, and so I grabbed that with the pictures that were sent to me, and I put it out there. Misleading. Oh, that's not what happened. Well, maybe the story wasn't with the pictures, but then you had video. Misleading. That's not what happened. Okay. Well, then you had the guys getting stopped by the officers in the middle of Saginaw Street. Misleading. That's not what happened. Well, what did happen? And what I fear the most is that in Flint, right now, to me, Operation Arrowhead and that post this weekend, it wasn't so much about the administration, what everybody keeps saying. To me, I see George Floyd. I see the man in Grand Rapids. Why must we wait until something happens instead of being proactive? Tonya, when you looked at those pictures and when you looked at the video, when those girls got arrested, and I've heard that they were inside one of the bars.
They were in the Torch Bar and Grill. In the stairwell, there was the cook. There were words. I was told that the cook had he actually put his hands on her. So the investigation is still ongoing. But here's my thing: there's gunshots and homicides, not just downtown, absolutely, but all around town. Right. So you have one shooting, and Mrs. Anderson has come to City Council twice to get answers that her son was killed, tragically shot downtown. But it affected business, and you don't want to have a shooting that's downtown. Before then, I guess you can get shot anywhere around town. Right. So I did reach out to Chief Green. I actually had contacted Chief Green that Monday because I had questions about Operation Arrowhead. I contacted him and I spoke with him at length afterwards because I needed to know what was his part in his plan in this. I've always said, where's our public safety plan?
Right. You've asked me that.
I've always said that.
Yes.
So the first thing Sheriff Swanson did was create a safety plan, and he named it Operation Arrowhead. And then some say, oh, well, no, this was one before. That's not what I was told by speaking with Chief Green and then also speaking with the Sergeant Smith. So this one was new. And so because it was so rushed and put together to get something done, but something needed to be done with downtown, but all around town too. it just wasn't for me well put together. We
Do you
have
know
to.
who had a? I didn't mean to cut you off, but while you were talking about that, do you know who sat down at the table when they came up with Operation
It wasn't
Arrowhead?
Flint. The Flint chief did not. This was
Mm.
not his plan.
But downtown is
Downtown
Flint,
is his
Michigan.
jurisdiction, and you should not, for me, bypass. It's kind of like coming to somebody's house cooking in their kitchen.
Right.
No, you don't do that.
Right.
And that's what occurred. So they basically took over. So with Operation Arrowhead, their officers are only there like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is what I'm told, and they leave at 2 a.m. So it's not like it's being portrayed as if it is 7 days a week. If that were, that's fine. But the clarity is just not there. There's so much gray area. So
I'm hearing 2 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Right. And I want to see the actual time, but our police chief was not a part of it. And I asked him, why was he not a part of it? And he just said, hey, that's the downtown, something. And he didn't elaborate on it. I respect him for not elaborating on that. But the issue is you had 2 young girls from out of town from Texas, 3. One was 17, 2 were 21. And 2 of the young ladies were arrested. So downtown is a college town. You drink, your
a 17-year-old shouldn't have.
She shouldn't have been drinking. I don't know if she was drinking though.
Okay.
But I'm saying if you're downtown, you have a younger group of people. So when we look at our sheriffs, they patrol or they do the jail, they handle the courts, and then they are on the road. What was the experience and what was the process and the criteria that they pick people to be downtown community policing? Because we often know that a young white girl and a young black girl or young ladies, a young white lady may get an Uber home. Right. A young black lady is going to go to jail for the same thing, which would be public intoxication. But they always want to make sure the rules apply with strictness to people of color. So that was my concern, because downtown is supposed to be for everyone. And
I still feel like they waited until something happened, because the young man got shot and killed downtown.
Well, they did some things prior. Remember the barricades, and there was a news release, email that was released. So they had put barricades down there. That really didn't work for the flat lot. So the things that they were doing weren't working.
What is in the flat lot, Gold?
Well, it's an empty space where they can do car trips, people can gather. So it's kind of like a cement park is what it is. Okay. Because that's what they do. And people can put their music and they, you tailgate in your car. So, and for young people, they want a place to go.
Yes, they do.
So providing a safe place for them to go is what we need to do, because it keeps turning into problems like Coochie Land.
Girl.
Coochie Land was a mess.
Yes.
It was a mess. And that was something that we didn't have a plan. So each time we fail to plan, we have issues. And it's difficult getting them to adhere and to listen and say, hey, you need a plan. And so when we talk about what does the plan look like, Operation Arrowhead, it's I get the intent of it, but I also find it hard for me. There's some other things that kind of weigh. So you had sheriff's officers coming into Flint patrolling, doing the community, the policing downtown. And Flint does have 2 officers that are to be downtown also.
Well, they only got 3. But they said they were dedicating 5 officers. Yeah. I read that to Operation Arrowhead.
They have 2 Flint ones downtown. And so it's not just, the sheriff's department, but you got to include the input of the police chief.
Well, I read that it was a grant, and it was a grant for
$850,000
for 1 year. And so I guess this is like a trial period they're going to do.
There's council didn't receive anything really on it to where like the details, but we do know we have had a problem immediately. How are we policing young people who are frequent bars or who may have had a couple cocktails? They're not driving, they're walking. How is our process? And this young lady was held in jail for a couple of days.
Yes.
And that to me is a problem, because in college towns, they're from Texas. Austin, Texas is a drinking city. Right. People go to Austin, Texas just to bar crawl and drink. Because that's exactly. So it affects the business and how people will want to come. That's supposed to be like a live spot for younger people. Let them have it.
Right.
But you can patrol, but there's a certain way to talk to the people. I didn't find her so intoxicated at the time. I'm looking at the videos to where I felt she should have been arrested. detain, talk to? Do you have a mother or aunt or someone who can come get you if she had been driving? I've seen them extend those courtesies to other people.
Absolutely.
I've seen it every.
They were talking to those young
Yeah.
ladies. They had took the cell phone and they actually posed with pictures. They continued to let them drink their drinks while they were talking to them.
Yeah.
And then when one of the girls had said something to the officer, he said something about, we arrested the girl in a yellow. And she said, none of us had on yellow. I know my colors. Well, she went to jail too.
And here's the problem. When they come in and their thing is to numbers, how many people did we arrest? I don't want numbers. I want us to say, how do we diffuse or de-escalate the situation? That should be their purpose, so that people can still go downtown and have a good time. But people of color, we aren't afforded that.
Right.
We aren't. We're automatically to be assumed if you go into a store with a big purse, you're the one stealing.
Right.
And we're automatically assumed that if we don't do, if something we're doing is criminal and we're villainized. And that's not the way it should be.
A lot of people on social media said that they started this Operation Arrowhead to prepare for Back to the Bricks and also for the Crim, because they have the new hotel down there.
Yeah.
And they want to kind of keep the hoodlums out of downtown.
I saw that email, and I think it came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
And as the owner of a hotel, I could see the concerns if the violence wasn't controlled.
Right.
And it should be.
Right.
All around town, though.
Absolutely.
But and people, just always downtown, and I get the nucleus, but we still can't forget about the other parts of the city. So when they say, well, it'll free up the other officers are coming from the south side to the north side.
Right.
That's dangerous because they're coming a long ways because they're running from call to call to call. And so it's difficult to get a good response time unless it's a priority call, homicide, or if it was gunshots or someone, or a crime that's happening at that time that's, lost a life. Mm-hmm. But certain crimes we don't even answer to.
No.
We do not, and there's a list of them.
And it's a shame because I know when things happen in the 6th Ward, I was going home one day and that lady had ran into the fence. And I'm calling 911. A couple other people called 911, and it's like you're standing there with your phone. They looked at me. I called Tonya Burns. Tonya Burns calls the police, and the police come. You came with the police, and I said we shouldn't have to know someone in order to get a police response.
And everyone doesn't know someone,
right?
And that's the part where residents, but we don't have enough officers for the calls.
Uh-huh.
And that's a problem because if I can't get and I've had to call Michigan State Police for shootings, active shootings that are, actually happening because we didn't have anyone. And so when we look at how do we keep our police, pay them.
Right.
Number one, these officers aren't getting bonuses. So the word is out there. If you go work for Flint, they're not going to pay you a bonus.
And I'm risking my life.
Every
day.
And so when I'm asking, why is it difficult to recruit and retain? If you're promising them a sign-on bonus and they never get it, then that's a problem. And it's not the chief's fault. That was very clear last night. That's why I like to do things in the open, transparent, so that the public can see and my colleagues, so we're all working on this issue together. They aren't being paid. So how can you come work for Flint and you sign on bonus? You never get it.
And the morale is low.
Morale was low before. Morale has been low for a couple of years. It's really it's low, and it's I value the police, and I would want the administration to value it. That ball shouldn't have been dropped because we have 6 young ladies who are being sued. Not 6 young ladies, 6 officers being sued by Sheriff Swanson, the sheriff.
Why is he
because
suing?
They came over, they did a lateral move, and they came to work over from the county to Flint. So they're being sued.
But don't they all work together, all the departments?
I think there's some, that's where I'm trying to, we need to do a better job of that. Right. And that's, when people get egos, it's not a place for it. Not when it comes to public safety.
Absolutely.
So you got those 6 people who needed those that money to hire attorneys for their sign-on bonuses. Uh-huh. One young lady has got a garnishment for $26,000.
Wow.
And she needed that money to hire an attorney to fight that case. So we're failing our police officers, and we're not showing up. And then now they're saddled with these lawsuits.
Right.
And Chief Green said he believes that they're going to stay. But they're 2 years into a 3-year contract, to a commitment to stay in Flint. They got one more year to go.
They 2 years in and still haven't received their sign-on bonus.
They have not.
Isn't that the craziest thing you ever heard?
It's disrespectful. It's I mean,
like you said, they kiss their babies, their wives, their spouses, girlfriends, partners goodbye. And sometimes they don't know if they're coming back. You were married to a police officer, so you know that feeling of they walk out the door, they may not come back again. And I would say that's a slap in the face from the city. And I also want to put out there, it's not that we are complaining that we don't want police like they have it downtown. We wanted police like that all over the city. So don't think that we're just nitpicking. Oh, you asked for police, now you got it, now you complaining. That's not it at all. They should have police coverage like they had it downtown this past weekend all over the city.
Yeah, but if you're not getting your sign-on bonus, I mean, would you want to come work for Flint?
No.
I mean, the word is out there. I'm just serious. No. I mean, and it's a nice incentive to attract new officers. But if you're not ever going to get it, first time we found out about it, that they weren't getting it, was me and Councilman Pfeiffer at a shooting with a young lady who she had her 2 children in the back, 2 and 4 years old. Someone they weren't targeting her. They I don't know if they were trying to steal their car or how that came out, but they put 11 times her vehicle was shot. And so, by the grace of God, her children, it was Jamaica. I was on the phone with Jamaica actually at the time. And I just remember her saying to me and Dr. Weaver, I got to hang up. My daughter-in-law, somebody shot her car up. And we were just like silent. And this was at 12:30, I believe, in the afternoon. So when we talk about, she's rushing to the scene, I'm closer to her, to the scene than she is, because you want to have family there when you have that type of thing happen. It's just the shootings become so frequent, and people don't know what to do. You have people who are angry, who want to retaliate. I went to one shooting, the police didn't show up. The family beat them there. The family and the friends who all showed up with their guns. And this one was on. By the time the police showed up, then the families, started to disperse. They shot the house up, put 32 bullets in the house. It's about 3-4 weeks ago.
And Tonya, they have gotten, as we listen to the sirens now, they have gotten so bold.
That's fire. That's fire. I know those sirens.
They have gotten so bold in knowing that Flint police are not going to respond in a certain time until they're shooting Scarface style. Now they stop in the car, getting out and aiming at the house.
They get out and walk up to the homes.
Oh,
literally, they walk up. They get out the car and they walk up and they shoot in front of the home. I can't tell you how many times. I've also seen in intersections where they'll go and shoot down the block. So when they're at the intersection, they'll shoot and they're hitting all the homes down the block.
Where's the helicopter?
Well, the helicopter thing, we never used the $300,000 for the helicopter, which I was against. And my reason being against the helicopter was, number one, we didn't have the technology to put into the same as Trooper Chopper 1, which is the Michigan State. That chopper is like $4.9 million. Oh, wow. It has the infrared heat detection. It has land to air. It has all of the technology. The chopper helicopter that they were using was first like $304,000. That parachutes. Listen, that and I would joke with Chief Green that they had their land to air was their iPhone because they didn't have a radio.
Right.
But he did state that they needed to have more equipment. But then they got the second. There were 2 contracts. First contract was $300,000. That one was never executed. Then a second one came from October the 30th through December the 11th. Mm-hmm. So we had it for 6 weeks.
Did you ever see the plane?
Well, that's when they did a press release. So that when they paid they paid $75,000, and they gave a list of what they felt, Chopper 1 benefits of the Flint one was. Mm-hmm. And it was not enough. And I'm gonna leave that there. The Michigan State Trooper 1 is like priority over Flint.
Okay.
Flint and Saginaw. So we primarily get, the use of it. That's why we see it so much. And we don't have to pay for their pilots. We don't have to pay for the gas. We don't have to pay for the insurance. And we don't have to pay for any of the technology. We get all that for free.
Right.
We need to get more officers on the street, because even if we do have the helicopter, you still have to have officers to dispatch to get the call. Trooper one is not getting down on the ground arresting people. They're not enforcing it. And we don't have officers on the ground for enforcement. So we look at our crime as far as our response time. We look at the shooting calls, the domestic violence call. We look at the speeding, and stop signs are now optional in Flint. People don't stop at stop signs
No,
anymore.
they stop
A lot
for
of people
them
don't.
speed humps that they can put up. And then they run through the stop sign and then
Right.
go over the other one. I'm talking about the two they got on El Dorado Drive.
Yeah, there are two. Those are in my ward. We got one on Seneca too. I'm trying to get many more.
I was just told I didn't do it, but I know they stopped for the speed hump and go through that stop sign, and then we stopped for the other speed hump.
Yeah, that sounds like what you did already. Sounds like what you did.
Now
there are cameras on El Dorado.
Who's gonna come and get me?
We not
the
paying
helicopter.
Well, we not paying our officers bonuses, so they're going to other agencies that appreciate and they're already trained. So when you get a certified officer, you're like a hot commodity.
Right.
So you can go anywhere. So for me, it's how do we keep them here? You got to make sure we engage them. That's why I always stop to tell the officers, thank you for your work. I appreciate it. And I talk to them. I talk to them.
Now, Tonya, do you think that the grant, I don't know do you know where the grant came from for
the
Operation
grant?
Arrowhead?
The grant came from, I believe, the Mott Foundation, and then the county used 200-something thousand of their ARPA funds. So Flint has no skin in the game with that.
Do you think that Mott should have given that grant to the Flint police to hire more officers, since downtown Flint is Chief Green's jurisdiction? There
should have been more communication. There definitely should have been, to ask him, what are your hiring needs? Because he's the chief. We cannot just bypass it. And we can't bypass the chief. I don't always agree with him, like with that helicopter.
Right.
And he don't always agree with me, but we work towards a common goal for the residents. And that's what we're supposed to do. So that grant, we could definitely use, the grant to pay for bonuses for hiring.
Right.
Would have got Flint police officers who are patrolling most of the time, so they know members of the community. The sheriff patrols the county. So how much time has the sheriff spent downtown getting to know the community? And we look at some of the police officers, they would know your mama, your dad.
Right. Because I seen Flint Township police cars down there Saturday night.
Did you?
In one of the videos? Yes, I did.
So then that may have been, they will call for mutual aid. So say if there's a stop or something that
these are two boys that ran a light. I seen that video too. And cops just swarmed them on. Where are you going? To the loft. They like, oh my God, to the loft. We just want to go and hang out. They didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Well, the officer said that they ran a light, but they didn't give him a ticket, we're not telling everybody again to give him a ticket. I'm glad that they gave those young men an opportunity. But why are you stopping them and scaring them like that?
Well, one of the things that the officers are doing, which is all the agencies, is stopping them if they don't have plates. And they're trying to pull a gun. Don't have plates. That's correct. And now they're supposed to stop them. But the agency that's not giving them tickets is Michigan State Police. If you don't have guns or drugs and they pull you over there and search your car, they're not tying themselves because they don't want to look like the bad guys in Flint. And so they've made a real effort for community policing.
We stay away from the cherry bombs.
Yeah, they're really some good people. I have a lot of them. Once you get in, you get to them, you'll really like them.
I'm not going to get to know them.
Well, Post Commander Yvonne Brantley, she did some unique things with making sure it was grant money that was out there. Making sure that if we stopped you, your light was broken, they paid to get the light fixed.
What?
Yes. If your
now,
child
didn't have a press conference on that.
Because exactly. If we stopped you, your child wasn't in a car seat, they brought a car seat out, 1, 2, or 3, to make sure those kids were traveling safe. If you were driving on suspended license and had old tickets, she was able to help pay for that. She went to a program and to a conference, and then she said, why don't you have this in Genesee County? And they said,
why we don't have that in Flint?
Well, she brought it to us. She bought milk for the kids, snowsuits, playpens, car seats. She did this holiday. She got that grant and used it in our community. And so we have to make sure the people that we are electing or putting into positions that they understand what the landscape of the community is. And we aren't making sure of that. And we need to do a better job. The outside influences, they're focusing on things not of the needs of the people.
Right.
And they want to highlight this election is so much more that's coming up. You got the governor, the state rep, you got everybody. So people have to make sure that they're electing someone who is in tune with them, who's seen doing something in the community, who answers their phone, who someone who's not shucking and jiving with you. You got to make sure you get somebody who's working for the community. Like when you called me, I wasn't elected. When that lady, she seemed to be inebriated. Something was wrong with her. And that accident, she went all the way down that road.
She sure did.
Officer Kelly showed up, and she was new at the time.
Was she? Okay.
She was new, and she's a great officer. We all gotta be community, because we don't have enough officers. That police force used to have per shift 4 officers in the different, they call it quadrants, and it'd be 4 officers with a sergeant. So we would have at any one time 20 officers for every shift, first, second, and third.
Wow.
We are not that at this point. We're like a fourth of that.
And that's sad.
And it's sad.
They ask, well, how come they not doing anything about the crime? What they gonna do? You got kids out there and young adults. I'm not gonna call them kids. You got young adults out there with Dracos and guns that go through doors and bullets and everything else. And I haven't had my sign-on bonus in 2 years. So when I look at that Draco and I think about my paycheck and my family,
I'm gonna keep going. But see, you get why I was upset last night.
Yes, I do.
Because I know we went from having,
Now you got me screaming.
Yeah, because I'm, and when we have a police force that has been diminished, not only because of emergency management, because of population loss, but the size of Flint didn't change.
Right.
That didn't. The square miles they have to cover, but the people that they have in the police department. So yes, I'm gonna get heated, and they need to understand that wasn't the heated part. They didn't see where I could take it. They didn't see that part. They did not.
But you're supposed to feel passionate about your community that you live in. Tonya, I should be able to sit down with all 9 council members, and they should be able to say, well, Officer Kelly or Officer Davis, they should know them. They should take the time to know the Flint police officers.
Yeah, and our firefighters. And it's
wait a minute, we're gonna get to the firefighters.
But you're right, they do. So I'm gonna always speak up for our police, because we don't have enough. And when you talked about Flint Township came and backed them up, why? We didn't have enough Flint to back us up. So if we have our own, we don't have to have Flint back us up. If we have our own, we don't have to have the sheriff patrolling. We're not paying them bonuses, so we don't have enough of our own. I'm new, I'm willing, I know what I'm getting into with Flint. Everybody know, and I'm signing on my 3-year contract. And I'm 2 years into it, and you still haven't given me my bonus.
That's gonna make me want to leave after my 3
So
years.
I'm scared for their lives, for the people who call 911 who need assistance, because that should not be a stumbling block. There's no way that they should not have that money, and we have the money. And the sad part is, the rest of them, every person that's sitting in that seat should have been upset.
Yes.
They should have been on them. They should have, hey, you go get the resolution. I want it done tonight. But they didn't. They tried. They come sending up Clyde Edwards. I didn't ask to speak to him.
What do you think? Because we can't read his mind. But I want to speculate. What do you think that he rushed to that podium to get there before Chief Green?
He didn't want Chief Green to speak. Chief Green
was going to be honest,
and he was.
Yes,
he was. And it's, how can we as council help you? Because they're coming to him and his command staff, the captains, the sergeants, the lieutenants, saying, hey, when are they going to get this pay? They had posted up around there and told some of the officers to bring in their friends. You get a sign-in bonus. They was posted around the police station.
People were asking me to come. They wanted to come and work in Flint. And they were getting turned away. Yeah. Then you had the officers that were here. The morale is low. Some of them, a lot of them couldn't even make it to that first year probation for whatever reason that was going on. But I'm glad a lot of that Chief Green has gotten cleaned up. But still, my mind keeps going back to police officers. Arrowhead.
His officers tend to have a very high regard. He's a very soft-spoken.
Yes.
They have a very high regard and respect for him. He polices different. Each chief they police different.
Right.
And I've known all of them. So and we look at what Barksdale, We had
remember
Alva
Barksdale.
Mon.
Mhm.
You know, we had Chief Johnson.
Woo,
I mean,
a little scary when they carry all the guns.
yeah, and they all know each other.
Right.
You know, and the thing is that the ultimate goal for everybody is to be safe, and they want to go back home to their families safe. They would much rather have, I know, one of their own that they train as opposed to having a Flint Township, you know, or a Burton officer, because you work with your own every day and you have that camaraderie, that respect. You know, it's the blue. That's their brother or their sister that they protected. And we can't keep them because of a bonus.
Tonya, do you think they're holding out on that bonus because they want to get that campaign endorsement from the police union?
I asked Mr. Edwards that because we know that endorsements this is a crucial election. And let me tell you, them holding out on this bonus was not a good look for them. It was not. You know, some of these officers, when they take vacation, they could use that for taking their families, you know, on vacation. Right. They got kids going to college, you know, if you needed to do something, you know, but to not give it to them and they worked for it, that's not what should have been done. So was it? I asked them, they didn't answer. You know, election time, things get a little crazy.
Oh, yeah, we know how.
But one thing, that should not ever be political because it's human lives.
But everything is political.
And
people don't see it. They don't know what we know. We've been there. Everything is political.
I will not politicize a public life. I won't with public safety. So if I'm going in,
paying for politics.
Yeah, I won't do that. I mean, because I've been at shootings with their bodies. I've been at shootings where they couldn't. The young lady had her children. I went in and she had called me because she couldn't get anyone. We didn't have a car available, and her 4 children were home. 3 were upstairs. The youngest one, which was 4, was downstairs, and the bullet went right through from the front of the house to the back of the house to in his bedroom, like right above his bed. So when we talk about, you know, we need to make sure we have police. If they're quitting, and some are, man, they ain't paying us our bonus. Man, they ain't right.
So what gives the that's not gonna make me want to rush to the scene.
And it was out of the hands of
the 6th ward. You did good. The 7th ward.
I don't know.
Should have been
they came after me on Facebook, and
we're not thinking about
and it tickles. And I'm sincerely not. And if the biggest thing is they have a problem with my bills, look. I take cash. You can pay me cash. Go down to pay where my bills are.
Cash up there.
Right. Listen, go pay my bills. If my bills are an issue for anyone, knock yourself out. I'm going to still work hard for the residents. And the part about it is it didn't stop it before the election when I won, because they know my passion, how serious I am about it. And all they're doing now is pissing the people off. So the more they put it out there, the more it turns them against their candidate.
Right.
It turns them against their candidate because they're doing dirty politics. People are tired about dirty politics. They're looking at what are your works? What are you doing?
Right. You're exactly right. One more question about Operation Arrowhead, then I want to go to the next subject.
Okay.
What wards does Operation Arrowhead encompass?
Well, it's going to encompass part from where it's located, part of the 7th ward.
Okay. That's Allie's
ward.
Hooker Road.
Yeah. So it's part of the 7th ward, part of the 5th ward.
Jerry went
because of downtown.
Right.
Part of my ward.
6. Okay.
And I think that's it. Because you're going from Robert T. Dort Highway over to Bradley Hills, back to DuPont.
Bradley Hills.
Bradley Avenue. Bradley, we're in 6th ward.
Not the same.
So right by Sunset.
That the lady was talking about they speeding up and down Sunset Hills.
Yeah, because Kettering's right there. So Kettering goes from University to Sunset.
They stop at Kettering.
At Bradley.
They stop at Kettering.
Well, I talked to Deion Smith, the sergeant, and he goes up to that. But that's why I'm looking forward to the ride along with him. So I can see.
Well, you know,
and him and I have
all the good things.
Yeah, but you know, I'm very clear. Like I told him, I don't want it to be seen that we are arresting young Black women downtown because they may have public intoxication, and they may have someone with them to take them home,
or walking up to them and asking them for ID. Do I have to show you my ID if you come up and say, "Can I see your ID?"
And I think, and that would be in training too. They need to make sure racial sensitivity, and they need community policing. Mm-hmm. If you took someone who worked in the jail for the past 5 years, put them in one of their Tahoes, that's not the person I want on the road, because they have been working. They've been in a prison a jail population as opposed to a residential population.
They have a different tone.
It's a different tone. It's a different
delivery.
And it's a different training. It's completely different. So my question is, what was the criteria for the people that they picked for Operation Arrowhead? And I'm working on finding that out. I did ask for him to have Sheriff Chris Swanson call me. He has not called me. So
he hasn't.
No, he has not.
But he's reached out to council members, as I've seen on social media.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was if it was a phone call or how his communication was. Okay. But Sergeant Deion Smith did contact me, and we had an at-length conversation for probably about 2 hours. Okay. And so we were very clear on what I want and like to see our community policing to look like.
And that's what I think. If whoever ward is in, Chief Green, you should all have a say in Operation Arrowhead.
And you're correct. Now, one thing that it did say, we would like to have a meeting. Well, who's doing the meeting?
It's going to be a press conference.
Yeah, and people are really tired of the hot air. They're looking at what are we really doing.
That's true. So, I keep talking about the press conference because we've been seeing press conferences every day.
And we're going to see them about 3 or 4 every day.
The mayor is doing his job with the press conferences. So I'm waiting for the press conference for the two.
You won't have that one.
Oh, let me finish. Let me finish because I know people like, well, what is she talking about? It was 2 Black children that died in a house fire on Pulaski Street. Okay, now stop me if I get my facts wrong.
No, because I brought it up in council during committee.
Well, you tell the story for the people.
Well, so I got the call, and I hate it's not jokingly because I was, I know a little bit about public. I was married to a firefighter. He wasn't a firefighter when we got married, my first 2 children. And so he went to fire, to the academy. And so he studied, I studied. He was the fire marshal.
Well, wait a minute. Before we get to that, one more question with Operation Arrowhead. Yes. As a council person, how does it make you feel? No, because Tonya, I've talked to you on the phone. I don't know how many phones you got because you're constantly talking to somebody.
3.
Hold on, Wyntis. Hold on. Okay, I'll be right there. Oh, just a second. Let me check. Okay, I'm sending in the email. I put in a referral. Okay, let me call the chief for you. This is what I hear when I'm on the phone with you. Plus, sit down, shadow.
That dog got his dog.
But how does it make you feel as a council person? And this is what I understand from what you're saying. Everybody should have been upset last night because why does downtown Flint have their own police, their own grant to get their police, but we can't get it for Pearson Road, the north side of Flint? We can't get it for the first ward. The first ward should have been shot. Well, no. He shot enough. But the second ward should have been shouting. The third ward should have been shouting. The fourth ward, for what they got left over there in the fourth ward, should have been shouting, and so on and so on. How does that make you feel?
Well, 911 calls don't go they do go unanswered, not because of 911.
911 is
they don't have anyone to give them to. So if you're calling, we have our own. When I went to the 911 center, we have our own dispatch section. So when those calls go in, if they don't have anybody to give them to, then what do? That call stays in the loop. It stays in the loop. So the Michigan State Police doesn't answer the calls unless it's like a homicide. So certain calls don't get answered. So when we talk about the time that it takes to answer, it's a problem.
Right.
911, and I went because it was everyone. It's 911. I said, okay, well, let's go see what 911 is doing. I spent an entire afternoon there.
Were you and your colleagues?
No, I went by myself.
Oh, okay.
They told me I was the only one that they have had, the 2 supervisors,
Why
Becky
all
and Dave.
Lots of people going down there and they all say, "Oh, crime." Yeah. Every single one of y'all ran on fighting crime and
no, they talked about me about fighting crime. They talked about me, and they said, "Oh, she's an ambulance." No, I know what happens in my community, and when we fix it, we have to make sure we identify the problem. So with 911, we don't have officers. Now we go to why don't we have officers? Why are they coming, or why they won't come? They're not getting the sign-on bonuses.
No,
if you're
they
advertising
for
it
downtown. They're not designated for your
but
area.
if we have, well, we that downtown, look at the business, basically like a business district.
Oh, I have to have a business.
Well, they want to make sure that their property is protected. So it didn't come out of Flint. I mean, there was a rush to get it done.
It's a business down there on Saginaw Street. But Papa Jared, Effie's baby boy, gave those men that money last night for their car dealership. I'm sure they would love some of the police to come down there and protect their business at night. I'm sure Dink would love some of the police to come down there and patrol when his club is over at night
too. Dink does a very good job. He's a part of the Green Eye program. And Dink,
you don't never hear nothing about vibes.
No, because he doesn't let people sit in his cars. Like, you're not going to be out there sitting in the car party in the parking lot. He does not make money at his bar or his club if you in the parking lot drinking. Right. You got to go. And his security tells them, hey, you got to go. If not, you're loitering. And that makes sense. He makes, no club owner is going to make money if everybody in the parking lot.
That's true.
You're just not.
That's true.
And so, I mean, when we talk about that part, he's smart. He's about his money, and he hustles. He's a go-getter.
Well, I'm challenging all of the council people that are watching now, or either you're going to play it later because you don't want people to know you're watching. I want you to be just as passionate about the police that you said you were going to be when you were running. Don't just have police downtown and they're not showing up for calls in your ward, like on Pulaski Street. Now, let's go back to Pulaski.
Well, it's not
Tell
even
them
that.
What happened on Pulaski.
I'll get to Pulaski.
Okay.
We have another council person. She had called me. She had a shooting at 4:17 a.m. where they shot up the house 2 doors down from her. And they came back from her house, came back at 4:32 and shot the house up again. She should be screaming about crime.
Yes, she should.
Councilwoman Lewis should be talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
She should be talking about it because her community, she has a problem over there. And when she wants some of the criteria, and so should Councilman Murphy, Councilman Mays, and Councilwoman Judy Priestley. She should too. We all should be. Absolutely. She has a huge gang issue over in the 4th Ward.
Spanish Cobra is still alive.
I was over there one day, and me and the neighbor ran behind the house to duck because they were shooting. You couldn't tell where the shots were coming from.
Oh, Lord.
It was because there were 2 cars going down the street shooting at each other, and then eventually it crashed into each other.
They got that bad.
But it's like the Wild Wild West. But just for that part, everyone should go. Yes. We need to say, how do we fix it, and not just talk about it. And you got to see how it's working now to correct it. But the fire.
One more thing.
Yes.
Chief Swanson, where's the press conference on Operation Arrowhead? We would like the data. We would like to see what were the arrests about. So if you're watching, please get with me. Thank you. Go ahead, Tonya.
So the unfortunate or the tragic loss of death for the 2 young boys on West Pulaski, which is sad.
That was sad.
It was sad. So the mother had been trying to get information. And so I was contacted by some people, and they were saying, hey, this is what's going on. I'm like, well, why aren't we getting information? So I sent an email to the city administrator, to Fire Chief Barton, and to William Kim, our chief city attorney. Nobody responded. I did that before I talked about it in council. And so I don't want to have that conversation publicly, not that one.
But that seemed like that's the only way you can get
because you're correct. When they're telling this administration, saying, do not answer certain council questions, and they do it. So then we'll talk publicly. If you don't want to have the private conversation, we can talk public. I don't have any problem with it.
And we know it's something going on because it's an investigation.
It's an investigation. Anytime you have a loss of life, you're going to have the Michigan State Fire Marshal there, and to investigate. So when they said the information came to me, there was the fire. There were 2 children lost their lives, and there were 2 dogs in there. They said there was 2 firefighters that issued an all clear.
2 Caucasian firefighters.
Who issued it all clear. And then a third firefighter who did it twice. He came back, and the timing part is what I'm waiting on to get, because it is an investigation. He was able to find the children.
So the first 2 that showed up never went in the house.
They have not stated yet.
Okay.
But the children were right there. And so when all clear means you're going on every level. That was a 2-story home. So the second floor should have been searched, the main floor searched, and then the basement. The dogs, I believe, were in the basement. I believe there's a child, I was told, that was in the upstairs bedroom, and another child that was back by the door. And so if you go in that door, you go in all clear. All clear means you search every part of that house.
Right.
You do, and the firefighters are trained to do that. So
I'm eager to know if they even went in.
Well, and that's what the investigation will have to reveal.
Something is going on.
It seems like a cover-up. It seems does. And the sad part is the cover-up for the city is probably worse. That mom lost a mother and father. I've seen people make posts on social media. Why would they leave children alone who support certain candidates? That child was 12. Even if they did, do you think that parent did anything to want their child to perish in a fire?
No, that's
so not. No, it's not. Don't put the blame on the parent like that. The dad normally went out to jog every morning. That he felt his kids were safe, and that's what he did. I mean, he did his job. Now we got to find out what happened, because if there was a 20-minute lapse, which is what I was told, in between that first, when the call went out, and the first fire rig getting there, and then the other ones, those kids probably could have lived. And I'm not going to be silent on it.
You shouldn't.
Listen, and I hate to say that. I don't hate to. My ex-husband, it ruined my marriage. He pulled 5 kids out of a fire.
Wow.
You're never the same person. He was never the same person again, because it just made him. It valued his children, but I couldn't reach him. I mean, he held, and I think he still holds onto that to this day.
That's got to be mine, but
it is
just to walk in there.
5 children.
That's got to be.
And when you talk about an electrical fire, they're trained to know that house can burn down 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, and I see
it has the possibility to do that.
I've seen in the press where they're trying to say, oh, it was an electrical fire.
Yeah.
And I've seen where electrical fires they do go up pretty
and
fast.
And it depends, because it can burn in the wall and go undetected for a while, because it travels along those electrical wires. So they all burn differently, but they can burn down a house very rapidly, because your electrical wires are all through your home.
That's true. On
every level. But my prayers and my heart go out to those parents who lost their young boys.
Mine as well. The firefighters, are they suspended?
They have not given us any information.
Okay, well.
And I asked in public, I was told that they're off, I think it was a vacation now.
So when you're on a vacation, you get paid.
Yeah. It hasn't been clear. So I'm waiting for a report so that I can give the factual information. But what we do know is 2 little boys lost their lives, and the community and the family is grieving that loss.
And we should not just. Where's the press conference on that? That's what I want to know. Where's the press conference on that? We've seen a press conference about guns, chicken being served down on the street. We've seen press conferences every day about. I mean, seriously, the press conferences are coming daily now, and I get it.
And they're going to. It's elections.
It's
election season, and absentee ballots are going out or whatever.
Right, voter registration cards with that people that don't even stay here anymore. Now, that's a whole nother show that I'll probably leave that one for Satara, because I heard that they were sending out voter registration cards to people that no longer live here. So that means I can send it back in and I can vote.
No, you cannot vote, because when they do come back in, it should be scrubbing those lists.
Weren't they supposed to do that the last election?
Well, I don't know how they updated the process. So you cannot. So if you go, you cannot cast 2 votes. You just can't.
But if you're sending it for my son, it'll show
in the system. I don't know if they automatically did that, but I do. I've already inquired.
Oh, okay.
I've already inquired because I got mine today in the mail.
Did you?
I did.
You just happened to bring it with you.
Of course, I brought it with me, girl. Yeah. So
What's
I got.
time look like, Mickey?
Well, y'all, you had an hour, but I was gone because I kind of messed up the volume for the first.
Okay.
Then I wanted to see, did y'all want to answer any questions?
Sure, we want to answer questions. We never want to leave our public circuit out. Okay, so that's the card that
They should be getting them.
Okay.
And because we're being redistricted, people need to pay attention to these because it's going to show your new poll.
Address, but
They got my address. Listen, and I wish they pay my bills.
They so worried.
I got payment plans. Believe me.
And half of them probably do too.
Yeah, I have spent more. I'm thankful to be alive. I didn't do that because I was reckless or irresponsible. That's not how it happened.
Tonya, to me, it doesn't matter how it happened. We've all been there. We've all had struggles. And what bothers me the most about that being put out there, what bothers me the most about council last night is that we don't have to have anybody else to come take us down because we do it ourselves.
We do it ourselves.
Yep,
we do.
So, Mickey, what they asking us tonight?
I'm waiting to see.
No questions. They just been listening to us.
No, we had some. I got to go back up to the beginning. I know, brother. Okay.
But people need to make sure they look out for these.
Make sure
because
you look out for your
new boards.
Okay.
I've already had people calling me and say, I do not want to be in that person's
That's
board.
Right.
Ward change.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
When you said that night, my mother went through the roof. She thought she was gonna be in Ward 2. She was having a fit. I said, Mama, it stopped at Mac and Roll.
Right.
Go ahead, Mickey. What we got?
This was Derek Smart. He said, when council going to get her out of that presiding presidency?
Councilman Mays, and it was funny because I wish.
Let me repeat the question. Can they hear you, Mickey? Can they hear you pretty good? You got a microphone on? Okay, so the question was asked by Mr. Derek Smart. Thank you, Derek, for watching. When are they going to get Allie Herkenroder out of that council chair? Tonya Burns.
Well, I almost wanted to hedge a bet last night. How many times would Councilman Mays say, I go to court July 18th? That's my seat. I'm still the president. So he goes to court July 18th. And I guess we'll find out then whether he will be reinstated as the council president.
It's the same kind of dynamics with Kate Fields, though, right?
It is. And I don't, I would, it'll be interesting to see because there were the standards how it's supposed to be set up for removal. It wasn't clear. That's why I didn't vote on it. And not just that, he asked me, he said, you gonna vote to remove me? And I said, not because you don't deserve to be removed, but because it wasn't done properly. And I stated on the record why I felt it wasn't done properly.
Right, you did.
And when Councilman Mays first started, he was chairing great meetings. And then he keeps talking, well, when Weaver started, I said, that has nothing to do with her. I don't treat it's indifferent. And I don't like him putting that was a lie out there. I didn't appreciate that. But will he probably be reinstated? I would say yes. I don't feel that they followed the proper protocol.
Well, we'll know.
And I spoke with Attorney Kim about it.
So wait, is Attorney Kim representing?
He stated last night. I'm not sure. I believe he is. Councilman Mays said it. So it's not going to be
fair.
I mean, I don't know if it's fair. It's up to the judge. It'll be interesting. But our council rules doesn't remove him, so it speaks to how do you remove him properly. He should have had a proper hearing to meet the threshold. And even if you read just the brief that we were given, which they made public, I did request for censure or removal was my request because our meetings were out of control. They were getting out of control, and so he gave it to all. Attorney Kim gave it to all the council members. He wasn't supposed to do that.
Was Attorney Kim, do you remember from working down there, was he the attorney that came from working with the police officers?
I don't remember. He's been there about 8 years.
Okay.
I got 2 more questions.
Okay, two more questions.
One from Trevor Berry here. He said, Ms. Burns, how do you go on council plan on pushing the administration to pay the officers their incentive pay?
One, we have a resolution.
We got to repeat the question.
The question was, how do you go on council? How do you go on council plan on pushing the administration to pay the officers their incentive pay?
So Trevor Berryhill wants to know, how do you go on council? How would a council member push for the officers to get the incentive pay?
So he wants to know. So one of the things we've already started working on that last night. When you seen Miss Brown duck behind that corner, she was taking care of business.
That's good.
Because number one, they tried to call
Blame
her out
her
on
on
that.
it.
So she said that was done a week after. So once that resolution is done, and you could see when I called him Mr. Drzinski, because I like to get everybody, all our ducks in a row.
That was from
Ernst and Young.
Okay.
And he stated, he's nodding his head saying, yes, like we did our part. We approved, it's the compliance, we're ready to go. So the only issue would be the administration if it's not paid at this point. So I should hear something probably tomorrow.
Will you talk about that in finance?
I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. I'm going to talk about it in finance, and I'm quite sure my other colleagues, because they should have been paid. There's no reason not to pay them and expect them to show up to work. So we have to, he claimed it was the resolution. I was told it wasn't the resolution.
But this came from the ARPA dollars.
This came from the ARPA dollars. And so he was stating he needed, Mr. Whittaker said he needed the resolution. And Ms. Brown said it was already done. So we need to see, if not, create one. So we'll find out this week. Once that's done, they need to be paid.
Well, I made that very clear. If they haven't been paid, then the money should still be there.
The money is still there.
Well, they saying we got 74 and not 94. So if they haven't paid the officers, it should be some more money there.
Well, those aren't the exact figures. That's why. So,
okay. All righty.
This one from Chia. She said,
hi, Chia.
She said, ask someone a question about who made the decision for 5 Flint police to be downtown if Chief wasn't at the table. Emphasis on I'm being serious because I don't see him as a liar.
So Chia wanted to know who made the decision to have 5 police officers downtown if he wasn't at the table. And I asked her that, who was at the table earlier. So go ahead, Tonya.
Chia, we don't know. I was told, what I've been told so far was that because it's with the county, that was made by the county. So that would be our county commissioners. Because Flint is still in the jurisdiction, it's in the county, but Chief Green did not
have any say.
He said he didn't have it now, and it came because they wanted to protect.
Had any say, or anybody in the administration?
Well, I don't know if Mayor. Well, if Chief Green, Mayor Neely should have talked to Chief Green. If so, if he's not talking to his police chief, that's a problem.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a whole nother problem if he's not talking to him. Chief said he didn't have any input. Okay. So. But I was told because they wanted to protect their property, I believe.
They want to protect their property.
They want the property.
No. They want to protect the people, right, Tonya? You said protect the property.
That's why we had an $850,000 grant, and they wanted to curb the violence downtown.
Okay, well, this one from Jaleel. He said, "How can 9th Ward get representation?"
Jaleel went all the way left. He wanted to know. Jaleel Carter has asked, "How can the 9th Ward get representation?" Can you go pick Eva up for meetings sometime and bring her?
Look, I'd be skirting it at the last minute myself. But I think that people that's why voting matters. They have to find them another candidate that's going to support them and to be there. If you don't like your current person, I had people calling me today because they were upset yesterday saying that they're going to recall me. Knock yourself out. So,
But that's the thing. They quick to recall, but
these are people who don't even
these
are people who don't even live in Flint. So when you say something that's hit or to talk about a topic that hits them, then they want to send their goons after you.
Right. But when you talk about the 9th Ward, I had a young lady today that I work with. She came in and she asked me, she says, I stay on Circle Drive. Mm-hmm. They were redoing Circle Drive. She said they took it all the way down. And she said they put a coat of something and then 1 coat of asphalt. She said, but the manholes are sticking up out the street like this. When are they going to finish, Wyntis?
That's when you contact your council person.
Well, she said she's been calling Ava. I said, who? She said, Ava, my council person. I said, Eva. She said, but she won't answer.
If you have, you can give me her number. Okay. And I'll call her and her address, and then I'll, get her to the right place, because I'm not just helping my ward. I help people in all wards.
Yes, you do.
And because it's about the city as a whole. So, and my aunt lives on Circle Drive.
Okay. So you know
yeah,
that what
yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
about. Okay.
So I'll make sure I'll connect her to the DPW and find out an answer. I will say that Mike Brown and Rob McGaha are very good at returning messages, and they're just not getting out to repave streets or to finish paving. I don't know what rotation hers would have been in. That's not my ward, but I'll help her find the answer.
I'm glad you got
Yeah.
a relationship and you building relationship with different
Yeah.
people downtown. That's what's needed.
And I didn't leave my relationships from when I worked downtown.
And that's
with
good.
with the department heads. I have a very good. It's handling business, so I'm able to get things done because I know how to navigate, and I do have a respect, for the department. We may not always agree on everything, but I'm gonna take care of the business of the city.
We may not always agree on everything,
Right.
and that's what people say. Well, people need to come together if they want to move Flint forward. We came together to move Flint forward,
and that's what we have to do. Take dispose of the negativity and work on positivity, and that's what I'm doing. And if they don't like my tone, sometime they ain't seen the other tone. I didn't
scream
I didn't cut. They all should have been angry that we're leaving officers.
I got
one for Tonya. Okay.
He says, Ms. Burns, I ran into a gentleman yesterday, just moved back to Flint. He lives in your ward. His water is coming out brownish orange. Can I send his number to get in contact?
Absolutely.
So Trevor said that he had someone that stays in the 6th ward whose water is coming out brownish orange, and he wants to talk to Tonya about it.
Trevor, send me that number because when I leave here, I'll call because
there's so many people water that's coming out.
This water is. I don't cook with the water.
Safe.
I don't cook with it. I still buy. Listen, I don't cook. Yeah,
I seen that press conference.
And I'm gonna tell you, I panic if I don't have water to cook with, or you get low, you're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And you get so busy. It is a necessity to have bottled water. They are still lining up at Bethel Church every Monday when those lines are wrapped around the corner. And we don't have our service lines. Our service lines are not complete. They're not complete. We have not changed all our service line, and we have over 8,500 restorations that still need to be done.
Tonya, have they did any service lines?
Listen, these getting, we can't get no answer. A lot of things, you get shut down and frustrated because I don't know where there's not good information coming out of there, and it's everything to me. It should be people driven, and driven to, what are we doing for the community? I mean, how do we not have the service lines done? And this pandemic issue, service lines are outside.
Right.
They're not inside.
Right.
And generally they're supposed to come to your house, but they did not go into people's house when mine was checked. So, I mean, we keep finding more excuses. Fix what's wrong, identify them. Because going in, Mayor Neely knew I did the top 10 list of what he needed to focus on. What I felt
it was
on my whiteboard. And for me, which I got into Woodson, I had crime as number one, because you always got to keep crime down for economic development. And I think water was number 3.
Water was number 3.
And he was like, I don't remember what number 2 was. Or was it number 2?
But water was number 3. I remember water.
He threw I had to pull up the board. But when you see things trending, what issues that we're going to have, then you need to make sure you're getting ahead of it. So now everything is reactionary. We're reacting. We need to be more proactive. We need wraparound programs. We need programs to help kids who are, that they're not in the street. Mental health. A lot of these calls, the number one call that the 911 center gets, welfare checks. Checking on the welfare of people.
They taking care of that on Pasadena Street for the welfare checks.
For the detention center for the children.
That's what they're doing for our children.
When our officers, the minimum that we got, because we haven't given them their bonuses, they're spending their time doing welfare checks. Now there's a program, it's called a violent interrupter. There's one in Baltimore, Maryland, and there's also one that's in Oregon called Cahoots, that you don't dispatch the police for welfare check, but you dispatch a team, a social worker, a therapist, like a team of 3, and a medic. And here's the other thing, my next one, Genesee County got that money. Why are we not seeing that here in the city of Flint? How many times have we got opioid overdoses? Number 2, I was on the phone with Dr.
We got the money back.
No, listen, I was on the phone with Dr. Weaver one day, and someone had OD'd on her street, the guy.
Wow.
Then she had one the other day when she was here, and she was able to get someone, over. That's twice. We have an opioid issue. Why are we not addressing that too? So we got so many issues to tackle, and whoever's first 100 days, she got some work, but she got us 8.8 million for opioids.
She did.
8.8 million, and I don't know what we've done with that money. I really
don't know what.
No. I do. And I
loud again.
I have asked.
What Tonya, when you get the answers, because I know I don't want to go over. I want to keep it short and sweet. When you get the answers to Operation Arrowhead, when you get the answers about the investigation on Pulaski Street, and when you get some of the answers about the other things that we talked about, I would love for you to come back on.
Oh, absolutely.
So we can follow up with that.
Yeah.
I want to just take us out, and then any last words from Tonya Burns. I want to thank everyone tonight. Also thank 810 Media Group for putting this production together. I also want to thank everyone in the city of Flint that is willing to work together to push the city forward. Share this. Get the information out. You're hearing it from Councilwoman Burns. You can't get any more transparent than that. Also, tune in this Thursday for the Wyntis Hall show at our regular time, day and time, Thursday at 6:00 this Thursday. You do not want to miss this show. We will be having on Doctors Rex and Dr. Karen Weaver.
Oh, that's going to be
together.
That's going to be a show.
The man behind the movement.
He's like a gentle giant, and people don't really get.
You can say gentle if you want to.
Right, he'll get you.
But thank you. Tonya, take us out. Any last words?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for speaking and to make sure we keep our community updated.
Yes.
People, you can start voting. You can go to City Hall and vote.
Voting,
and don't just go by yourself. Talk to your kids, your grandkids, because when we sit back and complain about the problems we have now, it's because somebody didn't vote.
Absolutely.
Don't be a part of the problem. Be a part of the solution. Get out and vote.
Get out and vote. So thank you all very much for tuning in, and we will see you Thursday.